All right. So mastermind, yeah, masterminding with the master of minds on December 8th, 2021. Oh my goodness. What a year.
Oh, geez.
Our final mastermind meeting of the year. I'm sure other people will be joining in. We'll let them in the room as they do so. So Dr. Moda, you're just getting ready to share with us how you're doing.
Everything's good. We're busy. I wanted to hear what the notorious Delta letter is, because I don't know that I've gotten one. I must have.
I sent you a text in a group text. I sent you a text image of this letter, this notorious letter. Yes.
Yeah, well, sometimes I don't have time to pay attention to what I should be paying attention to.
And it was from Dr. Haig. So let's start with you, Dr. Haig. What did you think when you saw the letter? I mean, you're in Nebraska. You're not in Missouri.
Right.
You know, Dr. Moto's not Missouri. Kevin, Dr. Vine's up in Maine, but he was in Missouri. So when you saw this is affecting you because what, you have Delta, Missouri, or your friend was in Missouri, she shared it with you like, hey, this is coming?
It's Midwest. It seems like they start in a particular region and then they are going kind of like Cigna. It's like they've done more the coasts, and they're kind of starting to come in. So where they started in Missouri, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it'll come this way. If they're, I wouldn't imagine that they just pick one state.
No, so that's already happened, I believe, in New Jersey and Washington, or New York and Washington. Yeah. So no, it's just coming around. You're absolutely right that it's a shot across the bow for all of us as we see this. So how did your not really just a friend, it's a colleague, right? How did she respond to this? What was her thoughts?
Well, she had posted it on a group I'm in, and basically everybody was like, yeah, I think most of the insurances are going to be doing this, and they all encouraged her just to go straight out of network.
So to resign from Delta Premier altogether.
Yeah. That's what
yeah. Okay.
I guess a lot of them had already done that, and it wasn't a big thing, and that Delta out of network pays pretty well. But she was concerned because the majority of her patients are Delta. I think she said about 60% of her patient base was.
And as you know, there's math to do when you do this. We're actually going through resigning from other insurances. We want to deal with 15, 20, maybe 30% of your practice at a time as we resign from in-network participation. 60% of your practice will be rough. I don't know, Kevin, I think you were in the text message. I have like 4 different text message groups. It only allows me to have 20 people in a group at a time. And I created these groups a long time ago, but I think you saw Dr. Parrish talking about how he lost 90% of his Delta patients when I helped him resign from Delta. Right. Are you in that group?
Yeah, I get it. Yours, I think 2 from you and 1 from Paula. So I'm kind of trying to piece them together, but yeah, I did see that, which surprised me and didn't surprise me because when we dropped out of Delta years ago, we lost, I can't remember the percentage, but of the Delta patients, it was over 50%. But within 6 months, I'd say 80% of them were back.
Yeah.
Huh.
All they had to do was go once and the reason that I think I lost it was in the small community I was in. There's 10 dentists, and 8 of the 10 were in Delta. When I got out, there was only 1 other person that was not in network. So, and there were some good dentists, so they had plenty to choose from. But most of them came back. So.
Yeah, and in his story was similar. He said it wasn't actually those patients necessarily coming back. It was actually new Delta patients coming on board and didn't know any different from being out of network, right? It's like, oh, that's how you do it there. That totally makes sense to me. So Dr. Yamato, I'll show you this letter here. Eric Vickery has joined us. All right, let's go here. That's a very old picture. Look at that old picture, Dr. Yamato. That's me back in the day. Remember, that's when you met me, Dr. Yamato. That's when...
Yeah.
All right, let's see, share screen. All right, this is from Dr. David Johnson in Missouri. All right, same letter that Dr. Haig shared with me.
Okay.
And it's from Delta. It just says, look, hey, we have to evaluate our reimbursement rates and make modifications as needed. I doubt that means increase our fees. This is vital to meet market demands and connect members to participating dentists for quality care at competitive rates. Now that doesn't say, hey, we're going to lower your fees, but it sure does sound like it, right?
Right.
Okay. They say there, hey, there's 3 levels of participation. You could be a PPO dentist, which nobody here is, right? Dr. Haig, you're
Yeah, I'm out. I'm Premier only now. Mhm.
Yes, that's right. So we found out that she had accidentally, well, Delta had, I gotta be careful what I say because we're recording this, right? Delta had gotten her, there's a good one, yeah, encouraged her to sign up as a Premier dentist and a PPO, not knowing that that would basically mean she was a PPO provider. So I try to teach.
I didn't think you could do that. I guess you can.
Well, what year was this, Dr. Haig?
I signed up in 2011, and I believe it was after 2012.
Yeah, I think 2013, you can no longer be Premier. You can only be PPO. But
Okay.
prior to 2013, they would do some finagling on the Delta side, say, well, you want access to PPO and Premier patients, sign up for both, not telling you that your rates will be the PPO rate, the lower rate. And so what Dr. Haig and I did was we helped her resign from being the PPO because she's prior to 2013 and just be Premier, which will probably increase her Delta fees about, what, 25%, Dr. Haig?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so we're very excited about that. So what they're saying is, hey, you can be a PPO dentist in the Delta Dental PPO TM network and the Delta Premier networks, because you can't just be Premier now. So all of us on this meeting are Premier. I'm trying to think if anybody joins our mastermind. No, I don't think anybody joins our mastermind is PPO. I think some people watch of clients when I sent the recording that might be PPO only. And so this is about a 43% write-off rate. And this, if you're this, it's about a 15 to 20% write-off rate. Okay. So like you, Dr. Moto, Premier dentists have an opportunity to be Premier exclusive dentists with Delta Dental Missouri. So some states are doing this right now. It's just Missouri, New Jersey, Washington. I think some states may be offering it, but not telling you that they offer it. And as long as you do not contract with other payers. So the email thread that Kevin Devine and Ted Morgan and Dave Peer and Dan Stanky and Paula and I are on, we're talking about this, and I'm cracking up reading Kevin's emails. But basically, Kevin, I won't put words in your mouth, but you said this, how is this legal, right? How can you say, don't participate with all those others, just participate with us and we'll give you a fee increase, which is where this letter's going.
Well, and I'm sure with all the lawyers Delta has that they've already planned for that.
Yeah.
But to me, it not being a lawyer, it sounds like I joked about in the letter, but seriously, it sounds like a guy from the mob walking in your office and saying, look, I'm going to give you patients here, but you got to play by the rules and not play with anybody else. Otherwise, I'm going to make life awful for you. So yeah. To me, it's bribery at the minimum and racketeering is what it sounds like to me.
So,
I'm sorry, but it's just.
So the funny thing is, Kevin, you're completely out of network with Dan, right?
Right.
Yes. So for Dr. Haig and Dr. Moto, they are Premier providers with Delta. Dr. Moto, for you, what they're saying is, well, Dr. Haig, this would be you. Premier non-exclusive dentists participate in the Premier network, but also contract with other payers. As you may recall, this option is not available to dentists. That's after 2013, and you can't add new locations. So actually, that answers the question for Dr. Johnson, because he has 2 locations. Like, how come I'm Premier in both locations? They must have added that in 2013, and he signed up prior to 2013. So Dr. Johnson, if you're watching this, that's why you're Premier in 2 locations. Okay, so, but Dr. Moto, what they're saying to you is, hey, your level, now if this is if you're in Missouri, you could be a Premier exclusive dentist. What does that mean? Well, we developed the 2022 fee schedule with extensive evaluation of market fees. We're recognizing unique contributions of Premier exclusive dentists like you who assist Delta Missouri in offering value to our clients. Therefore, we anticipate you'll receive an increase in your overall reimbursement from us in 2022. Notice it says overall reimbursement. That's going to play a role here in a second. We have enhanced fee transparency, and now you can view your fees online. So now you can go online and look at what your fee list is. I love how they use the word enhanced fee transparency.
Yeah, there you go.
They're really good. They must have a really good verbal skill coach. The enclosed amendment outlines the requirements to be an exclusive provider. If you agree with this, sign and return it by March 1st of next year. You can email it here. Maintain reimbursement under the Premier fee schedule. Beyond this date, you may include your Premier exclusive locations in a single amendment for administrative ease. So there's actually room to put multiple locations, which is crazy because they don't do that anymore. So now what they're saying is you're only allowed to do this by March. So Dr. Haig, if you were to get this letter right now and you have other insurances you participate with, sorry for you, you're not out in time, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're alluding to.
Well, you'd have to like almost give notice now because most insurances want a 90-day notice.
It's almost impossible. Funny how they're timing it that way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty funny. So Kevin's point on our group email was, well, how do they know if you're not participating? I have a client, we'll call him Dr. Gary in New Jersey. He was the first one to tell me about this. I was like, what are you talking about? Delta Premier exclusive. And so that's how I know it's in New Jersey. And they told him who he was participating with. They already knew who he's participating with. So somehow there's something online that these insurance companies look at and say who you're in network with.
Wow.
Well, if you read the second page of the letter, which I didn't at first because I just got so aggravated the first page, it talks about how they're going to check on you. And one of the ways is that they're going to compare participation data. So there must be a database between insurance companies. And, you know, it's legal for insurance companies to share information about us, but we can't talk each other about insurance. So, and the other thing it said on there is that they're going to call and ask you. And I thought at first, well, why would you tell them the truth? Well, then I thought, well, dummy Kevin, they're going to call up and act like a patient and say,
exactly.
Hey, do you take Blue Cross? Oh, yes, we take Blue Cross. Bam, you're done.
Well, and how we teach our offices to answer that question is, oh, we're willing to, handle all insurances with you. That's how we operate. As long as your insurance allows you to go anywhere you choose. They could get the wrong impression right away. That's funny.
Yeah.
No further,
I really wonder what the other insurance programs think about this. Because it's hurting them as much as it's hurting dentists. I mean, we know Delta doesn't do anything but hurt dentists, but now they're hurting other insurance companies.
Well, and there's another letter going around from Aetna. Have any of you seen that one?
No.
I haven't seen the Aetna one.
The Aetna letter says they are going to be lowering participating provider fees by up to 50%.
Whoa.
And they're
That's
already
amazing.
writing off 40%. I mean, it's like free,
Yeah.
right? It's like free. So here's the key word that I want to make sure. Overall, you can expect an overall increase in your reimbursement. Look, if you're like Dr. Yamamoto and they offer this letter and you're only Premier, it probably doesn't hurt you to think, oh yeah, I'll do this. I'll become a Premier exclusive provider. Paula has a client who already looked in their provider portal and looked at it. Yes, some fees were increased, but some fees were decreased.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So when it says, and do not contract with other payers,
Mhm.
that means
Other insurances that you'd be in network with. So if you were a participating provider with Aetna, MetLife, Cigna, whatever, they're saying you can't, if you got to be not in network with any insurance, only in network with Delta.
oh my God, that's everybody. You can't. So it's just just like you said, in network with Delta only.
Only Delta Premier. Yep. So if you were in network with anybody else, they would not allow you to sign on with this program. Okay. So the key thing that I want people that aren't here live that are going to be listening to this is you got to go into the portal that they're providing and you really got to look at your fees now and then. So print your Delta fee schedule and go look at this. If you're considering this and saying, okay, I'll do this for a while. I mean, Dr. Yamamoto, when you sell your practice, Dr. Haig, when you sell your practice someday, the next dentist is not going to be able to be Premier.
Right.
They're going to have to be PPO anyway. So you're already looking at, well, and we haven't gotten a fee increase from Delta since when, Dr. Yamamoto, 2012?
Yeah, yeah, for years and years.
Yeah, there's been no fee increase. So, and it looks like the way they talk in the first paragraph is they're probably going to lower rates if you don't become exclusive. To me, that's what stood out to me in this letter.
Yeah. You know, they've been doing this before where they're trying to get rid of Premier.
Yes.
Back when I was practicing in Illinois. And then when I came here to Maine, Dan at that time was a Premier provider. And he said they were bringing me on, and they said, well, he can't be Premier. And he said, well, in the same office, he has to have a different fee schedule then, you know, it gets a different reimbursement.
Wait, but you were Premier in Illinois.
Yes.
Why couldn't
And
you
so
just move it to Maine?
that's what Dan tried to tell them. And they said, oh, well, yeah, maybe. And then they came back and said, no, because Northeast Delta Dental is not the same company as whatever ours was, Illinois Delta. So they haven't divided up in little companies so they can protect themselves, even though it's under one big umbrella, but they don't ever tell you that.
Yeah.
You know, that legally they're separate companies.
Wow.
Separate nonprofit organizations, I should say. Because that's what they're listed as.
Nonprofit. They're nonprofit.
They're not an insurance company.
They're nonprofit because they pay all of their big time people all the profit.
Right.
There's
And
no money left.
true. They are listed as nonprofit. They are not listed as a business, as a insurance company.
It reminds me of who's the actor who does the food and all the profits proceeds go to charity. What's his name?
Paul Newman.
Paul Newman. Yeah, all the Newmans own all those products. They're good. And one of the cause related marketing they do is, hey, all the profits go to charity. They don't ever say that Paul Newman makes, $2 million off his face being on there. I mean, I'm just making something up, but profit is just whatever you want it to be after you pay yourself some money.
Right. It's what's left.
Yeah.
It's what's left over. So I really, really, really want us all to mastermind on this and really stress the fact that we've got to, if you're like Dr. Emoto and you're just Premier provider with Delta and nothing else, you've probably got to consider looking at this fee schedule to become an exclusive dentist, because I anticipate this first paragraph. Do you guys see this first one? Market adjustments effective January 1st. We're making fee adjustments effective January 1st. That doesn't say we're increasing your fees. Right?
Yeah, making some adjustments. Could go up, could go down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They could lower the reimbursement by 30%. And then when you sign up as a whatever the secret club is,
Premier exclusive.
Then they may raise it up by 10, and overall you still lost 20%.
Yeah. So the goal would be, my thought is, look at that fee online where they talk about it right here, your 2020 fee schedule online provider portal. Be cool for us to get together at some point when we all have access to it. I think it's funny too. All the states don't do it at the same time. They're smart. They want one state at a time doing this, and look at your fees and see how it compares. See if it makes sense. Some are going up, some are going down. Reach out to me and Paula. Let us know what you're seeing. Share it with us so we can all benefit from it, like Dr. Johnson did with this letter, and we'll go from there.
Eric, when back in Illinois, and this is how ridiculous this is, but I had a good friend, colleague that was about 15 miles from my office, and we looked at our fee schedules with Delta, and I was getting paid more than he was for the same procedures. So he called up Delta and told them, and they said, you just admitted to doing something illegal, that we could have our
coercion.
lawyers go after you.
Coercion.
Yeah. So they said, you can't talk to other dentists in the network. That's illegal.
So you're telling, so when I post this video on YouTube, you're saying I should tag them in it, is what you're saying?
Yes.
All your names are on here. Oh gosh. What are they going to do? I mean, seriously, it's like they just keep pushing the little man down, the single practice provider down. They just try to beat them up. So for those that are listening to this, like Kevin's talking about, you guys decided to then resign from Delta, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
How did that go?
Well, Paula helped me when we did it in my practice, and we didn't do it with a letter. Yep. We did it with slowly talking to patients and telling them why.
Time out. Two things. Let's go back into, so no letter, it's a one-on-one conversation. But wait a second, you resigned from the Premier Network in Illinois before you moved to Maine.
Yes.
That's why you also couldn't be Premier in Maine, because you were after 2012. That's why they're like, yeah, you can't be, this is important. Once you resign from Delta, you cannot get back in the club. They do not let you back in. If you want back in, you would be as a PPO provider. Now, what I would tell, I do help dentists that are PPO. I do help them resign from that plan, because why would you want to give up 40% of your money when your profit margin is at 25%? You're paying patients 15% to come in and see you. Right. Phil, I have a PPO dentist here in town, a client friend of mine, and we just stopped taking Delta PPO new patients, and we were getting 15 to 20 new patients a month. He still gets 15 to 20 new patients a month. They're just not Delta. So we're not overwhelming the practice with PPO patients. Do not let your Delta PPO patients exceed 40% of your practice. Dr. Haig, what was your Delta isn't very high, your percentage of Delta, huh?
No.
Your Blue Cross Blue Shield's big in Nebraska. That's what it was. Yeah, I think you were like 17 to 20% with Delta, which is great. So Kevin, please continue. So no letter.
Yeah, and Dan did the same thing up here, Dan and Hillary, that they had a letter prepared for patients that had questions or didn't come in, but they just did it one-on-one. When they came in for recall or came in and explained to them why, and most of them understood, and we told them what Delta was trying to do. But we had Denvantage in place, so we had something to offer them that still gave them some protection and support. So a lot of them took that. A few of them left. The good thing up here in Maine is, there's like one dentist every 10,000 miles or something. So there wasn't a lot of places they could go.
Let me ask you a question. Northeast Delta, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, they passed a law where if the dentist requests it, the Delta check has to go to the provider. Do you guys get the Delta check, or does it go to the patient?
I think we get it most of the time. Yeah. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. You actually have an advantage in Maine. So if you're in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, listening to this, you have a huge advantage to being out of network with Delta. What Delta does in every other state is if you resign from Delta and you're out of network with them, they will no longer assign benefits to you. They will no longer pay you as the provider. They will send the check only to the patient, which means they pay UCR to you for $100 for a cleaning, and they get back $60 in the mail from Delta, and they're pissed because they had a $40 copay to come see you. Whereas in Maine, you guys will get the $60 check and just ask for the $40 copay.
And we asked for one thing they do better here than I ever did in my practice was patients have to pay up front. So whether they get the check or we get the check, it's kind of a done deal at that point. So
got it. So you're having them pay for the whole thing anyway up front.
Most patients, there's a few that and Dan makes this decision in the Sorrento practice, and there's a few patients that have been there a long time, and we know the patients and we know their insurance well enough that we'll just take their portion because we can figure it out close enough. But most people have to pay at least a little bit more than we suspect they're going to pay, if not the whole thing.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. So Dr. Moto, you don't have to worry about any of that because you're getting to that point where you're, next couple of years, you're thinking about selling the practice. So if anybody out there is like that listening, who's, the next couple of years, you're selling the practice, you do not need to worry about resigning from Delta at this moment. But we have been talking about it, Dr. Moto. We actually were talking to patients about, hey, if Delta does this to us, we want you to be prepared, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What were you doing in those conversations? You were kind of preparing your patients really early on, even though we never pulled the trigger or haven't yet. What have you been saying in the past?
There was the whole thing back when we were
pre-COVID. Yeah, pre-COVID.
Yeah, that they were going to try to do. I can't remember what it was that Delta was going to do, and we were trying to use that as a defense to
justification,
right?
Yeah,
to leave Delta, and they never did it. I got a few calls from Delta because I sent out. We would promote other insurance companies in the office to, if you're going to do anything, please, next time you re-up with an insurance program at work, because we're very insurance driven, try to sign on with Aetna or Blue Cross and so we had a letter that we would give to patients and make a suggestion that they would change to another program. And Delta got wind of it and gave me a couple of calls and, tried to ask me what I was doing. And a couple of times they called, I didn't answer. And so anyway, we dropped the whole thing because they didn't do what we thought they were going to do. And it was our justification for dropping Delta. So
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. Yeah. So if Delta, you're kind of preparing your patients, and I don't think it's a bad idea for anybody watching this, that you're at this stage of your career where you're like, you know what, I wouldn't mind resigning from Delta anyway, and I just need a real good reason to do it. If
Right.
Delta decides to lower your fees again, all you got to do is tell your patients what's going on, and if you have a really good relationship with them, they're going to understand. And Paul and I, like Kevin was talking about, we'll help you, teach you how to resign from insurances in a really good way without sending a letter. You don't drop an insurance, you resign from it, and you take 6 months to do it. It's what Dr. Haig and I are doing right now with some plans, right, Dr. Haig? How's that? How are those conversations going? Remind me which insurance plans we're approaching first.
Well, we just got done with Delta PPO and Aetna. Now we're going to start working on Cigna.
Okay, so Aetna. I'm so glad we decided to go with Aetna first based upon the letter that I've been seeing floating around out there. I have a client in California, and sometimes he joins us on the Mastermind call, and he's like, Aetna, I didn't even know I was in network with them, he says. He tried to resign from them over and over and over again. He keeps sending his letter like, why aren't you guys getting me out of network? And the reason for that is they pay more to him when he's out of network. They don't want you to be out of network. They pay UCR, they pay usual customer, maximum allowable amounts. So that insurance companies want you in network with them. It saves them money. And the question becomes, why would you be in network with them if they're going to pay your UCR fee? That's the question.
Yeah.
Right? So Dr. Moto, talk to Dr. Haig about your experience being an out-of-network provider for Aetna, MetLife, Cigna. What do you see reimbursements rate like? If you charge something for like a cleaning, do you see the insurance cover that? Do they cover half of it? What's your experience?
Well, I think it's their usual, and I, to be honest with you, I don't really know because I don't handle that part of things, so I'm not privy to that information. Well, I'm privy to the information. I don't follow the information, right? Let the front office do that. But as far as I know, they cover their percentage of my UCR, which is much higher than my Delta fees. I know you were talking about losing 15%. I think it's even more than that.
Could be.
In my office. And you're right. I mean, I've sort of decided not to deal with trying to go out of network, not going out of network, but dropping Delta.
Yeah.
Because I think that it would be, and like Kevin was saying, be a hardship at first, maybe for the first year, but lose Delta patients. I think it would, one thing I heard you say that I think might be a great idea is not to accept any new Delta patients, although, a large portion of my new patients, and it's getting bigger, I think it is Delta. I mean, I think we were at, when we did a calculation of how many were Delta patients, I was about 40%, now I'm probably 45 to 50%.
I would watch it. I mean, I would watch it, what it is. You're a premier, so I'm not as worried about it. If you're a PPO provider with Delta, that's where I'm like, you got to shrink that patient base. That to me is a real problematic at 40+% write-off rate.
Well, and then selling the practice too. I mean, I don't want to sell a lot of Delta patients because I feel like, and you told me that I probably wouldn't have to do this, I feel like I would want to discount the sale of my practice somewhat for the new guy coming in, because it's certainly not going to be as profitable for him coming in because he's going to have to deal with Delta PPO.
I'm not seeing that be the case in prospectus that I've seen out there of clients looking at to buy.
Yeah.
They're just assuming that whatever you want to do when you take it over, that's on you. In fact, I'm seeing it go. We used to talk about 60% valuation of your practice,
Right.
$1 million practice, 600,000. It's getting close. Banks will loan 85%. We're seeing it get to that 85% now, where people who are selling, it's a seller's market and they're getting 85%. So $1 million practice now will sell for 850, and the bank will loan that amount, but they won't go over that. Yeah. So no, they'll have to deal with the participation part afterwards. Yeah. No.
I've never seen this letter that they're sending out to the dentist in Missouri.
Yeah.
Have you seen it in your other California clients?
No, it literally, so somebody on the text group, Dr. Heron, who joins us sometimes on here, he's in Missouri. He goes, I just got my letter today. Yesterday, he said, I hadn't got it yet. Today, he goes, got my letter today. So it's just Delta Dental Missouri. And I think that goes back to Delta being very smart about this. They're not going to do all the states at the same time. They're going to start in different states. They're going to start planning this based upon their numerics of what they do. So if they did it with everyone everywhere, we would all be playing together going, okay, coercion, we're out of here, right? We'd all go at the same time. Now we're like, okay, Missouri, good luck. You guys are on your own. You're dentists in Missouri.
Yeah.
So we've got a county, actually Humboldt County, Dr. Yamato. Humboldt County has no Delta dental providers.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how they did it, but they're smart.
Maybe they have their stockholders in some of the marijuana
That's
up there. You know?
Humboldt County is known for their farms. Yes, they are known for their farms. So what I'll say, Kevin, what is your, maybe, Dr. was saying he's not privy to the number on the reimbursement. When being out of network with Aetna, MetLife, Cigna, Guardian, all these plans, are you privy to the information that they cover your UCR fee for like preventive services? They acknowledge and say, yeah, we pay 100% of that. We pay 80% of that.
Yeah, I guess I am privy to it, like Dr. Yamada said, but I don't look at it at all.
Okay.
That's part of my maintaining sanity and being a semi-retired dentist and working for somebody else as an associate. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just
as we're talking about this, it's my senility kind of cleared a little bit. As you said, I already dropped out of the Premier Network, but I didn't. At the last minute, I didn't. We had told our patients that, but the young man that bought my practice was concerned about it to the point here talking about selling the practice. And he was a Delta Premier provider in Missouri, which is where we were right on the Missouri-Illinois border.
Yeah.
So most of our Delta was Missouri.
Yeah.
So we stayed in it for the sale for him because they told me if he came in and we were not a member, which I don't know is true or not, but if I had dropped out and then he couldn't come in as Premier.
That's
even
not true.
It's a new practice, but
not true.
And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what they threatened.
That's the tactic. So the rule is, if prior to 2013, you could be a Premier dentist in one location. You can be Premier, but he couldn't have two locations where he's Premier.
Right.
That's the way I understand it. Now, Paul and I share a client, Dr. Johnson, and he has two locations. They told me today they're Premier in both. The only thing I can think of is they did that prior to 2012, because I know now you can't do that. I've got a client down here in Sacramento. He's got two locations. He's got a veteran associate like a Kevin Devine in one location. He's Premier there. And then the owning doctor prior to 2012 is Premier in the other location. So they see their Delta patients in those two places, not in the other, and they switch and go back and forth. So I know you can't be in two places. We've tried that, but they've thought of everything. So all that to say, if you are an Aetna provider, you're in network with Aetna right now, and you're getting this letter and you're thinking about this, like Dr. Haig, what I've expressed to her is 95% of the plans are going to pay your UCR as long as you're reasonable with your fees. They're going to pay your pro fee at $110 to $120. They're going to reimburse you for that. Whatever your going rate is in your neighborhood. But if you start going, I'm charging $200 a pro fee, of course your patient's going to have a copay and a hissy fit. So this is why they want you to be in network with them. This is why they threaten you. This is why they won't, oh, it's a 3-month wait to resign from an insurance company. It's never been that. It's always been, you need to give us 30 days notice. It used to be, we sent that letter in, they went, fine, boom, you're out. They got the letter and you said 30 days later, I want to be out. They put you out the day they got the letter.
Yeah.
Now, not so much anymore. Not so much anymore. So if you're in network and you're getting really, really low reimbursement rates, here's what I want you to think about. What percentage of your practice is in this plan? If it's below 20% in that plan, we can help you handle how to navigate that conversation like Kevin's talking about, like Dr. Yamamoto's talked to his Delta patients in the past, like Dr. Haig's been talking to her patients. And you can make that decision if you want. No pressure, you don't have to, okay? But if you do that, take 6 months to talk to your patients as you see them in hygiene. Converse with them. Let them know that you're there for them. And then when you resign, watch what will happen. You will get your fees covered by an out-of-network, as an out-of-network provider, 95% of the time.
Say that again.
Once you're like, okay, so Dr. Yamamoto, you're out of network with MetLife. You're out of network with everybody except for Delta, right?
Right.
So you're MetLife. Let's say I'm a MetLife patient. I come in, I don't know, I work for Tesla. I don't know who does Tesla have?
I think I don't know, but I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, Cigna, whatever.
And Apple, Apple.
Yeah, Apple. Yeah.
Really?
So all these Silicon Valley, right, employers. So I come in with my insurance and I present it, and we see them as an open network. And you have an open network. You get to choose where you go. All right, great. So I come in, I'm a hygiene visit. It's $300. I don't pay anything. Insurance pays all for it. You don't write anything off as the dentist. When you're an in-network provider, you're writing off 40% of that and I don't pay anything. So the patient, I think, I'm getting such a great deal.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my EOB for my family the other day from the hospital. They had a 55% write-off rate for the hospital visit.
Yeah, at least, I think.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How do they do that? Well, they play the volume game. They see a patient every 5 minutes. You wait 20 minutes for your appointment. We're dentistry. We can't function that way. You can't schedule 20 hygiene patients an hour.
Right.
It won't work. So we were never meant to be at this place. Now, when you're a DSO or a large group and you have leverage to get the fees really high, if you're in network with someone, you're only writing off 10% of your fee, either two things have happened. One, your fee is too low.
Right.
Or two, you scored because there were no other dentists in your area and you had the leverage and you had numbers, right? Volume to say, okay, either meet my demands or we're not in network. And I have a client that does that in New Hampshire. They're in network with some providers because their fee is right within 10% of their actual really good UCR fee. They actually had to raise their UCR office fee, crown fee, to match the fee of Humana or something. It was like $1,400 for the in-network fee. That's totally fine.
The in-network fee was higher than their fee.
Yeah, it was like $1,400. It was crazy. So they raised their UCR fee to match that, which because there were no dentists in that area where they decided to build the practice. So they're on their third location. They're January, their third location, all from starting from scratch, or because they've picked really good spots.
Yeah.
Right. And so some they're in network with, some they're not, depending on their fees. So if you have, and I'll get clients will say to me, who do we hire to go negotiate our fees with the PPOs? Well, you'll spend $3,000 to $5,000 for a consulting company to go negotiate your fees, and you'll get a $3 increase on fluoride. So,
and they'll put you under, like Carrington or Zealous, so you're under a whole bunch of like umbrella ones.
talk about that, Dr. Haig. What do you mean?
So like they'll want you to not contract directly with Delta or any of those. They'll want you to be under the umbrella of like Carrington, or I think it's Zealous.
Yep.
I might be saying wrong.
Yep.
But you'll end up signing for, like it might be emeritus, but they might have all these sub branches too that you don't even know you're in network with.
So the part of their negotiation to get the emeritus up is, but also get under this other network, right?
Yeah, they're like, I'm not really sure how it works. Somehow they're subwritten under emeritus, so you're not directly, but because they're connected to emeritus, the patient will show up and you're in network with them and you didn't even know it.
All right, I'm going to show you guys something here, 12/7, because I just did this with a client in New York, and I don't think their information's on here. Great. So I'm going to show exactly what you're talking about. So what you're talking about is what exactly this client did. So they went through and what she has here, she has all her fees, you know, her top fees listed out here. And she's got her fee for service fee right here. Okay, 120. Here's Carrington and here's Zealous. And you look at these fees, right? 195 down to 109. I mean, they're almost half. And so what she did was she put the percentage that it meets. So 79% of the time it meets 79% of her UCR fee. Okay. Zealous meets 68% of her UCR fee. Look at this. MetLife, 46%. That means it's a 54% write-off rate. So when she went through one of those companies to get that negotiation, all of a sudden she's like, who are these companies I'm participating with that I'm not familiar with, right? And we just did the same thing with their office, Dr. Haig, where they went from PPO and Premier just to Premier. So it's much better. That's 25%, not 15, like I said. Dr. Moto, you're right. It is higher.
Yeah, I
So
think it's
this is who you're talking about, Dr. Haig. Now, did you use a PPO negotiating company before?
No.
Somebody just told you about that?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to like Unlock the PPO,
Oh yeah, unlock the PPO. Yep.
spoke to them and they talked to me about that. And I was like, I don't know that I want to do that because I had gotten into that with Emeritus, signed up, and it was before I knew that they would underwrite these other companies. And so people did show up and I didn't know I was in network with them. And I was
You
like,
didn't even know.
I'm not doing
Yeah.
that again.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking what those PPO negotiating companies charge?
Yeah, I want to say, I mean, I know Unlock PPO will only work with one single location,
In that zip
like
code?
one
Yeah.
or two doctors, and they won't do big groups. But I want to say, I want to say it was like $4,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard from $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah.
And then next year, guess what you got to do? You got to hire them again to negotiate again. Right. It doesn't go away. Here's the thing. When you get a fee increase in network, it's done. So and let's say you sign up today and you're like this office talking about New Hampshire, they might be great fees right now, but what I've warned them, okay, is in 10 years, that fee is not going to have kept up with the going rate. You might have to resign at that point. Was there ever a point, Dr. Haig, where you felt like your in-network fee was healthy?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I haven't gotten the Aetna letter because I just got out, but like when I first signed up with Aetna, it was, I mean,
It wasn't
my
that
crown
bad.
fee was basically my crown fee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so is Cigna, but
Mhm.
like I said, they're sending out their fee reduction letters.
Yeah. So over the years, it got worse, right?
Yeah.
And they're hoping that you're too afraid to resign because you don't want to lose your patients. So Paul and I will help offices create insulators, the recare, the marketing, the case acceptance, those things to build the practice up so that you can be healthy enough. And you need the volume. You need to have enough patients. And Dr. Haig, you've got Dr. Haig, you've got an infestation of patients. So you're a perfect candidate for.
Be okay with fewer.
Yeah, it's as my first mentor taught me, I've never met a busyness problem that a fee increase wouldn't take care of. All right. So the Aetna letter is floating around out there. If you have it, send it to me. I want to see it. I keep hearing about it. And lastly, I want to, you guys, anything that you want help with in your practices, questions you have for each other that you want to throw out there?
I have a question for Dr. Haig, and maybe you can answer it for your clients too, Eric. And where this comes from is the letter or the thread that we're on with Ted and Dave and Dan and myself.
Yep.
Ted especially is kind of pushing this forward. Ted is fully retired. He still owns a practice, but he's fully retired. And we're kind of looking at what we can do as a group of retired and semi-retired dentists, because this aggravates the hell out of us, to help people become fee for service and insurance free, which you and Paula do a lot of. But I don't know, and I guess my question for Dr. Haig is that even a goal that you have?
I would say it wasn't a goal of mine before COVID hit, because it felt like PPO was the way to go. Like, moms are mainly the ones that make the appointments and they're always looking for the best deal. And so, but I think COVID just threw a wrench in that, because you can't just be seeing these patients for free and getting a fee decrease. but I think it's hard because there is, you know, as a young dentist, it is fear. We also come out of school, you know, with a lot different skill set than, you know, your generation did. We didn't get taught as much, so we do have to, in order to be competitive, have to have a lot more patience in order to, because it takes more years to get the skill set that you guys have. But not only that, I think, you know, also in the landscape of all the DSOs and groups, you know, I saw somewhere a thing saying that even if all the private practice dentists went completely fee for service, it would not hurt the insurance companies because of how many groups and DSOs they have in network. So I'm fortunate, I'm in a rural community. We don't have any corporate places, but I think for a lot of, you know, dentists, especially, you know, my age, it would be scary if you were somewhere with a lot of the corporate. So
and I want to differentiate the question. Are you talking about Delta resignation, or are you talking about all other than Delta insurance participation resignation?
I'm talking about all, I think. I mean, Delta is the face of the devil, in my opinion. You know, they're the ones that are pushing this to extremes. And maybe, you know, there's people that I, for years, was afraid myself to get out of Delta. And like I said, didn't really ever completely get out.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if you can, all the PPOs, I'd say definitely my goal would be to get people out of those. And then participation in a few, like you said, keep it at a certain percent. So I'm not saying that it has to go to extreme, but whatever point on that spectrum that dentists want to go, we're still hungry to help dentistry, and we want to do something to help people, you know.
I think that's awesome. And I think we need to figure out how to yell it from the mountaintops that there's Mastermind out there that's willing to help, and how you do that. And I think Denvantage is a great way, you know, membership plans in the office. I think that's a huge insulator to the practice. You know, I host Dental All-Star podcast, so please listen to that. I've done 5 interviews right now of dentists who have resigned from insurance. And I want to interview, you know, the guys in that group, Kevin, on that, so we can get the word out. We can share, look, here's our personal story about how we did it. Here's what I was afraid of before. Here's the process I went through to do it. Here's what happened afterwards, so that the Dr. Haigs of the world can work with Eric and Paula and other coaches to say, all right, we need to piece and phase. So what Dr. Haig and I did, we did a population tracker where we look at every plan you participate with, what percentage of your practice of that is in that plan. And then we take them in thirds. We never tackle more than 30% of a practice. We decided, I think 15% of the time, Dr. Haig. So our phase 1, we took 3 groups that equaled 15% of her practice, and we tackled that. In month 7, we'll now tackle the next 15%. If you get through all those, and Delta being the last one, and everything's healthy at that point, then you go for Delta. And then you decide at that point and you reevaluate it. But you can't go, all right, 67% of my practice to 75% of my practice is insurance participation. I'm going to resign from all of it right now.
Right.
You'll go crazy.
You feel like you want to do that, but
It's not smart business wise, and it's overwhelming conversation wise, because you'd be talking to 75% of your patients all day long. This way, we're only talking to 15% of your patients each day about this conversation over a 6-month period, and no letter being sent. Don't do it that way.
Yeah, I would say just like sharing your experience, you know, would be a big, because, you know, I don't know how, you know, your interactions with colleagues are, but at least where I'm at, I feel like I'm on an island.
Mm-hmm.
The other dentists don't talk to each other. They had like a falling out years ago before I came here. I don't know. So,
we don't do that here anymore.
Yeah, we aren't friends. We're competition. I'm like, there's enough teeth. It's fine. But anyways, but just knowing, because otherwise you are scared. But until you hear, you know, experiences like yours of like, yeah, there might be a downtick, but either you'll be profiting the same with less patients, or they do eventually come back. Like after hearing that from several people, and like I see it on a lot of Facebook groups, then you're like, this can't be just like, it has to be true. There's too many people saying this for it not to be true. So I think it's just like this, you know, dispelling the fear, because, you know, there's a lot, those insurance companies are good at manipulation.
And that's exactly what they're using is fear. And I can tell you, I think most dentists feel like they're on an island, because
Yes.
I know in my town, same thing. There's 10 dentists, and a couple of them would not, they'd see me at a meeting, they'd turn and walk the other way. And, you know, maybe it was something else about me, I don't know. But it was like, they didn't want to, you know, it's like, really, it's not competition. We're in this together.
Yeah.
But I'll
exactly.
tell you another thing, Dr. Haig, that you mentioned the DSOs and the fear there. To me, I would love it if DSOs were the only ones that had participating dentists with them, and the rest of us were fee for service, because we had 2 DSOs come into our little town of 10 dentists, which made it 12 dentists at the time. And they were one of the best marketing tools for my office that I've ever had. And a lot of people left for that too. And I mean, not a lot, I guess, but enough that it concerned me at first. But I can tell you, most of them came back and were the best patients after they came back, because they realized the comparison. And the DSOs can't compete with us in patient care and talking to patients and consistency of care and consistency of a dentist. And I don't know about DSOs in other places, but the ones we had were so over treatment planning that, you know, I would try to sell a single crown to these patients and they wouldn't do it. They go there and they hear they need 13 crowns, and they come back and they're happy now to do 5. You know, so it's like, you know, I was telling some of them, some people came back and they were like, I have 13 cavities. And I was like, I can't find any, you know, and then in a small town, the word gets around. So those DSOs can be a good thing for you.
Well, let me clarify something too. Corporate dentistry versus DSO. Those are 2 different types of entities.
That's true.
I think what you're referring to, Kevin, is corporate dentistry.
Yes,
yeah.
You're right.
DSOs could be just like you guys. They could just be a group of individual dentists that decide to buy, and you're all individuals. Those are totally healthy and really, really good dentists and do a great job. It's the corporate that can be a big challenge when it comes to sales. So the island thing, I think that's why dentists don't want to put their face and their voice out there to say, these are the problems I have, and I'm afraid of this. They'll go on a Facebook group message and rant and do all these things, and everybody will put them on blast. And why did you do that? You know, they'll do it because you're hidden behind this social media thing. But what we need are dentists coming to these sorts of forums for free and learning from experience, learning from our veterans, learning from our elders who can teach us that it's okay on the other side of this, you know. And I think the problem is dentists are afraid, they're approval addicted. They're afraid they don't have a 10 on their forehead. They have low confidence levels earlier in their career, you know. And I think that's a big part of not being willing to show up here and say, I've got problems. Who has advice for me?
Right.
Yeah. I admire you, Dr. Haig, for where you are in your path and what you're going through right now. It's going to be amazing on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
All right. I got one more thing to share and then we'll wrap up. I will say Denvantage is amazing for insulating the practice. If you're resigning from insurance and you want something in your practice, make sure you have an in-office membership plan. And of course, we love what Denvantage does. So Paul and I and others are going to be doing our next training for your whole team is Friday, January 14th for part 1 and Friday, February 4th for part 2. So it's 2 days. It's Eastern time, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And we're covering all the case acceptance stuff, all the systems training we can. Everybody's joining via Zoom. So we keep the price really low. And we're just looking at ways to build the practice. So if you have team members who have joined you in the last year who are not up to speed on how you speak to patients, how you guys work as a team, this is your chance. It's $5.99 a person. I know I have an office, they have 20 team members, they're joining us. I know we talked to an office today that's bringing on a handful. So we're going to have a good group of people, but we want everyone registered by December 13th. That's in 5 days. That way we know what to plan for. Of course, we'll take more after that, but we really want to have a good idea of who's going to be there. So if you're watching this and you're not attending, that's okay, but forward this information or email me and Paula and CC a colleague that you know could benefit from it, because the more the merrier. It's such a fun program. I know I did, Dr. Haig, we did a 1 day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was focused on insurance free. This is a little bit different. This is more like the coaching that we're doing one-on-one each month, but in 2 solid days. Dr. Emoto, we've been doing these for years with your practice. You've been to the Zoom camp, but live and in person over the years. And your team is actually, you had 2 team members join us last year in these, Melinda and Christy. Yeah. So feedback for those that are thinking about it. What would you say?
Say that again.
What would
Feedback?
you say to those thinking about joining us? What do you think?
I think they liked it. I think they learned a lot of things. I've got I've got 3 new people in the office that could benefit. One's a new assistant, and we talked about this before, Eric. I think a live program, is better because you get to really feel the enthusiasm and camaraderie of everybody being there
Yeah.
face to face. But
If you can't do that, this is the next best thing. Yeah.
And we don't know about the new variant, and so trying to get together might be, I don't know, maybe even years away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
depends on where you are, what location. I'm meeting, I'm doing a 200 person meeting in Florida in January. So all depends on what state you're in.
what is that a good thing? I mean, Florida.
I don't know. But yeah, demographics play a role in live events. So that's why we came up with the Zoom camp. If you're in a place where you can't do live stuff, then join us and be there. I know, Kevin, have you been on, did you do our retreat, our Zoom camp retreat, or have you been sticking with the live stuff that we do?
Well, I've done both. We did
Yeah.
the retreat. Was it last year? I guess.
Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Yeah, we did
That was
that.
via Zoom.
And,
Yeah.
And I think if I heard right, a lot of our Sorrento team up here is going to be
Yes,
joining you on this team retreat. And
that's right. How many is that? That's like 8 people.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's 28. That's at least 34 people joining us in there. So I think there's going to be good energy. I think it's going to be really good learning. I don't have the whole list of everyone. Paula has that. She doesn't let me have that sort of information. I shouldn't trust her. No, Paula's keeping the list of who's registering. So it's going to be fun.
A lot of different perspectives. So it'll be good to
Yeah.
everybody learn from each other.
What's funny is the 20 are in Alaska and you guys are in Maine. So we got bookends going right now. So yeah. So if you're thinking about it, let us know, join us. We'd love to have you. So, all right, you guys, awesome. Have a wonderful night, wherever you are, from Maine to Nebraska to California.
Hey,
Look at
thank
that,
you,
right across the country.
Everywhere in between. All right, you
Merry
guys.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. This is the last mastermind of 2021. And by the way, Paula couldn't be with us because she has family visiting. That's the only reason. Everything's good there. So
All right.
I said, enjoy your vacation, Paula. So Eric will take the wheel.
And we even behaved. She'll be
I
surprised.
can't believe it. I can't believe it. She's going to watch us in shock. All right, you guys, stay blessed. See you later.
You and I didn't have time to goof off. That's it.
We'll stop the recording now, Kevin. We'll have plenty of time. All right, you guys, take care.
Happy holiday.
Take care.
Happy
See you
holidays.
next year.
All right, bye.
Bye now.